This is really exciting for Tesla stock investors. Potentially, it is very bullish, says James. China may introduce new energy vehicle support measures soon, which is really EV subsidies, which should also apply to Tesla, of course. Let's dig a bit deeper into this. China State Council Information Office today shows that it will hold a briefing to introduce the promotion of high-quality development of the new energy vehicle industry, which of course includes hybrids and EVs. China stimulated the industry by making new energy vehicle purchases exempt from purchase taxes, and originally that policy expired in 2017, but it was extended and then expired in 2020, and then it was extended until the end of 2022, and now it is extended again until the end of 2023, but we recently learned just a few weeks ago that it will be probably extended for another 4 years. That's almost a certainty at this point. Continuing the tax exemption, of course, would be bullish, but here is where Tesla stock investors are getting really excited. You see, last year, China offered subsidies for new energy vehicle purchases, but these subsidies stopped last year and they did not continue them. However, following the withdrawal of state subsidies, growth in China's NEV industry has slowed significantly so far this year, which leaves some room for speculation that maybe they are not just extending the tax exemption, but maybe they are reintroducing these state subsidies back. And what would be extremely bullish is if they increased these subsidies even further. So potentially this could be really bullish, although we won't know until we hear the officials speak in a few days. We have more really good news, I would say, for long-term Tesla stock investors, although for short-term Tesla stock investors, this may hurt a little bit. This is good inflation rate data. Used car prices now down 9.1% from last year. If you exclude the 2022 hangover, this is the largest percentage decline in prices for January to June timeframe since 2012. And of course, this is good inflation data, which means the rates are less likely to go up and more likely to be cut, which would be great for stocks. However, this is bad for automakers because high used car prices also supported high new car prices, which means new car prices will also face downward pressure, which in turn is also good for inflation rate. Now, James thinks that Tesla has already gone through this process, and I, to some degree, certainly I agree with that. But if everyone's prices are coming down, that will still have more effect on Tesla's pricing short term as well. But why did I say this is great for long-term Tesla stock investors if Tesla's pricing is going to come down? Well, this will put a lot more pressure on legacy automakers. It will be harder for them to make the transition because they will make even less money from their gasoline-powered vehicles. And many of them are becoming reluctant to invest money into the transition. So if they make even less money from their gas-powered vehicles, they will be even more scared of the transition because they need to spend so much money to transition. And if they don't have the cash flows from their old business, this could be a little ugly. And they already are losing so much money on EV. So if Tesla lowers the prices even more, they will look at the EV industry and say, we are making less money and we are supposed to make EVs that will lose even more money than before. How does this even make sense for us? So this one is a mixed bag. Potentially lower interest rates, but then lower prices, which means lower margins as well. Either way, long-term Tesla is good here. More good Tesla stock news. The Cybertruck has just arrived in New Zealand for winter testing, which could be fairly bullish because Model 3 winter testing in New Zealand occurred about 6 to 7 weeks before customer delivery. So with Cybertruck spotted in New Zealand today for winter testing, looks like late Q3 deliveries are well on track. But James is still sticking to Q4 for his base case, but possibly this could mean also that Cybertruck could start deliveries in August. I'm not sure about August. I'm going to be sticking with late Q3 for now, and possibly if something goes wrong, maybe Q4. I personally really like this Tesla stock news. Tesla China starts showing inventory vehicles on its webpage. Now, this possibly indicates that there's more inventory because you want to stimulate the demand by showing to everyone, hey, look, we got a vehicle here. So if you just want to come over from this city to this city, you can get your vehicle right now, today, instead of having to wait for a little while until we get more cars to your city. But also, this will allow us to count the number of vehicles in inventory in China as well, not just in Europe and the US, but also China as well. And I personally, as an investor, I love that because I want to see the most recent data. The more data, the better for me. Troy just shared his latest numbers from Europe, and he has some interesting insight. In Q4, Tesla delivered almost 95,000 vehicles in Europe. In Q1, almost 94,000. But Q2, he says, is currently trending below 90,000. I think, he says, the reason is that Q1 still had a small number of backlog orders, but those were cleared, and Q2 now reflects sales generated only within the quarter. And going forward, Troy expects a lot less sales from the last month of the quarter because all the sales will be distributed much more evenly in Europe, he thinks. We don't have the latest data from China this week yet, but if we just look at the previous latest available data, we are heading in a very good direction. We definitely want to be above this white dotted line, which is very good. However, looking at the daily reporting countries in Europe, which do not account for the majority of sales, but they do account for a good chunk of sales, this quarter, we are probably perhaps going to be behind the last quarter, at least if this trend continues like this. The last quarter was pretty good, so we'll find out really in a few days, but it is highly likely at this point that Troy may turn out to be correct about Europe after all. But he was a bit too conservative on China, although it is important to see what the next week looks like. Either way, Troy does really good work and his track record is pretty impressive. It seems that there's a new Elon Musk interview, but the preview is all dubbed in French, so yeah, I don't think this is going to be an interview that you want to watch unless you speak French. But if it is not dubbed in French and we can actually hear Elon speak in English, I certainly want to watch it. However, I can't find the interview anywhere, so if you have a link, drop it down below in the comment section. All Model X's now ship with Matrix LED headlights. It appears that Matrix LED light systems allow you to see much further, and on top of that, you don't actually blind anyone. You can see that there's a lot of light here, but there's no light right here, and there's no light right here. So that's a nice luxury to have. Inside EVs is now reporting that Tesla Model Y in the US is second only to Ford F-150 as a best-selling vehicle in the US, and of course it is the #1 best-selling passenger vehicle in the US. There was another new exclusive interview with Elon Musk published on Twitter, which I watched, and there was nothing really new that Elon Musk said, so I didn't cover it. I still greatly enjoyed it, but there are quite a few people complaining on Twitter that Elon doesn't mention anything new in the interviews anymore, although Elon did say that he prefers technical interviews, but those have smaller audiences. Dave, he wants to do an interview with Elon. If he could do that, oh, I would love that one. By far, my favorite Elon Musk interviews were with Joe Rogan. By far, not even close. One reason is because Joe doesn't repeat the same things. He just asks further, deeper questions, and then he gets new answers from Elon. Sandy would love to have Elon back, and that one I would really love to see too. Elon Musk replied with a yup to this tweet. Tesla is accomplishing full self-driving and the majority of the public is completely clueless on it. And there's a suggestion from Bradford. Elon, instead of mandating that interviews be on Twitter Spaces or be native Twitter videos, you can mandate they be in a car in FSD mode. I think that is maybe still a bit early. Unless you go on a highway, then probably it's okay, because there may be some interventions. But if you go through an area where you know FSD can handle the area very well, then that may be a good idea, but that would be a bit staged. Maybe in San Francisco, actually, that could be somewhat done without really any staging. But if you do a 2-hour long interview, you're going to have some interventions and you are going to have some very uncomfortable moments probably. Unless it's all highway. But generally, I think Bradford has a pretty good idea here because that would definitely help Tesla make more sales. Looks like Tesla is continuing to make a few more semis. Remember, Tesla is not really doing any mass production here until the Nevada factory is expanded. If I am not mistaken, he is a Tesla bear, and he just increased his Tesla delivery estimates from 414 to 427,000 to now 427,000 and 440,000. So that new range is quite a bit more bullish than the previous one. This is great. Tesla patented a new steer-by-wire system. One thing that people hate right now with yoke is that when you do a tight turn, it's very difficult to turn it. But if it's steer-by-wire, you don't need to turn the steering wheel multiple times. You just turn it like that and you can turn fully. But then the problem is if you do that now without the steer-by-wire system, then at high speeds, the car is a bit twitchy and it may not be very stable. But with this system, you can change the sensitivity so that when the car is moving at a slow speed, this means you turn a lot. But when you are going really fast, you can reduce the sensitivity. And if you turn the steering wheel, maybe not a whole lot, but a little bit, the steering is not all that sensitive, leading you to a good experience. And there are a few more benefits.
From a packaging standpoint, the steering wheel location is much more flexible. It can be raised and legroom is freed up because you don't have a steering shaft going from the wheel to the steering rack. Tall folks will find this welcome. The design also allows for a steering yoke rather than a traditional wheel since the steering ratio is adjustable. This means you never have to use hand-over-hand motion and never have to take either hand off the wheel to maneuver, an idea that's popular in racing.
The stock market was closed today, so there was zero chance going in that today we would have a spectacular buying opportunity like we had back in December. And in this video, I talk about why Tesla board members are not buying more Tesla stock. My name is Matt Post. Just like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.